In this video, you're going to be getting a sneak peek of one of my private coaching calls with my clients. For perspective, these guys have already been certified by my company to go ahead and get a job, and now they're just giving me a bunch of questions about how to get a job. And so this is me answering a lot of their pressing questions of what was on their hearts at the time in order to get a job. And so this is essentially the 5 things that will keep you from getting a job in high ticket. So without further ado, enjoy.
The biggest thing is you want to make an impact, because that's what you do in this industry for the most part. And they know if that's your why, that's your goal, typically you will do better, like, period. That just so money isn't the only driving factor, it's also to be part of a high performance culture and, you know, to have an impact. Because, like, for example, selling a house doesn't have as much of an impact as, or like delivering packages doesn't have as much of an impact as, hey, buy this program that will help your business go from $10,000 a month to like $100,000 a month. That has a bigger impact than buying a new house, for example. So they want people that want to have a bigger impact. For award, you want to put certified closer, like, because you got a certification for closing, and I put that there too from me, right? So you just put certification for high ticket sales, something like that, high ticket sales in general. You have a certification. Take your experience and ask ChatGPT to act as a recruiter who helps people looking to get a job frame their resumes to help them get the next one. You want to tell it, obviously, what you're doing next, which is high ticket sales. Can you frame this application in a way that would make me seem as though it flows into the next thing? I'm not saying literally high ticket, but to like frame it in a way that you've been communicating. Like, I read Maxim's and he just put it through ChatGPT and apparently did pretty well. Like, I thought when I read it, it looked pretty good, but you want it to have it frame it in a way that would make it seem as though it flows into the next thing. They're going to glance at this, dude. They're not going to, like, don't think that this is what they're reading and they're completely judging you. By the way, they're not going to look at this first. They're going to look at your application first, and then they will click this later. If you do this correctly, everything, you're selling yourself in the application for the most part. Like, you're selling yourself and why they should pick you. So right now, don't expect to, like, completely have to sell yourself on this piece of paper, because they're only going to look at this if they have found interest from the application, period. And ideally, if you do like a 1 minute, if they ask for a 1 minute video, they can get a better feel for you as well. Because I mean, when I think of somebody who overnight specialist, seasonal, right, like a bunch of stuff with like manufacturers, warehouses, I think of a certain type of person, and you being on camera showing that you are not who they think you are, because there's like a stereotype there probably. Like, I have a buddy who does that, and he's, you know, not to say anything against him, but he's like, he would never invest in a program like this. You're different, is my point. You're not just some guy who heard about high ticket closing and like saw a YouTube video and is now applying to jobs to try to get a better job. You're not that guy. So you want to frame yourself as the big fish in a very small tank as it pertains to the opportunity. Like, I have a catfish in my fish tank. I have a catfish, but it's tiny. And it's because I only have like an 8-gallon tank. If you put him in a bigger tank, he'll keep growing. But his growth is limited because of the tank that he's in. And you're like looking to have a bigger impact. You want to show like this momentum, this upwards trend of momentum going up, as mean like Amir only goes up. And this is just like the next step to help you get further in life, right? Expand. You're expanding like the fish who's in the small tank and trying to get to a bigger tank and become a bigger fish. It's like a momentum thing, right? They don't want like the little fish in the small tank. They want the big fish in the little tank who wants to get bigger. Because if you're a little fish in a little tank and you get thrown in a big tank, you get eaten. You feel me? So, and I talk about that a little bit in crafting a memorable application. You need to watch that, because that's what matters the most, or else they don't even look at your resume. And also flip the order of college. You want them to see that you went to a music college before high school. Everyone went to high school. in the questions, they're going to ask you about previous work experience and stuff. Probably just have the answers ready. You'll know how to answer them because I tell you how to do that stuff. Just go watch the video. Have your answers ready, prepare for them. And like I said, just this big fish, small tank, can't grow any further because it's a small opportunity, and you're looking to go in another tank. And you're not looking to be a closer making 10K a month right away. You're just looking for the opportunity to show off your skills in setting, which is a cakewalk compared to closing. I promise you, if you do the things I just told you to do and you listen to everything, the biggest thing is the application. The biggest thing is the application, how you fill it out. Fill it out with some intent. How you reach out to the entrepreneur, do it with some intent, right? Intention to win. Don't just be like, hey, noticed you're in sales, noticed you're in mindset. I really love mindset. Got a job to offer me? Don't be like that. Like, that's how most people do it. If you can, you could be like, for example, you could reach out to John, right? Veronica, since you're interested in mindset, and just be like, been trained by Evan, your old closer, would love to. He's talks nothing but good about you, blah blah blah. I thought maybe I could be a good fit, try out as a setter, blah blah blah. Didn't know if you were hiring. If you are, I'd love the opportunity because it sounds perfect. And you want to also go check out his YouTube videos, right? I'm telling you, these entrepreneurs, I know it's not easy because I tell you guys to look up 100, apply to 100 different places, but these entrepreneurs are looking for fans because fans don't want to let them down. They're not just going to hire some dude who's just there to make money. I'm telling you, John was going to pick a fan over a guy with better experience. I remember one time there was this dude who's in his 30s who's literally made millions of dollars in sales. He's made millions of dollars in sales. He's selling solar, and he was looking for a better opportunity in the high ticket space because he saw things trending that way, and he wants to be a part of it. And we picked somebody else over him, and he was the most qualified. It's because the other guy seemed like more of a fan. He seemed not like a super fan, like an annoying fan, but super interested in what he's doing, just aligned, right? I love your mission. They care more about that because they know that you're not just there for the money. And you fit their culture because their whole team's obsessed with not the person, putting them on a pedestal. I'm not saying they have to be your god. That's not what I'm saying. But the product, you're dude, the product helped me a lot. And wow, I want to help other people get into this too. We were more likely, just to be honest with you, we were more likely to hire somebody that we've sold into the program than somebody randomly hitting us up and applying, even if they're super qualified. So you need to put yourself in, who do you really want to work for? You need to figure that out. Who do you really want to work for? The type of thing that you want to do, and whose content are you consuming already? And if the job opened up with them or someone like them, you would really be excited to work for them. That's somebody that you have a better shot to be with because it's going to come off very naturally. For me, because I'm in sales and they know I love sales, I've been trained by Cole Gordon. I've been trained by his team. I've been trained, when I was working with John, he was getting me trained by all the top guys in the space, right? And because I've been trained by all these top guys in the space, I'm obviously a big fan because I've used their tactics. I've used their principles. I've used a lot of the stuff that they say and developed my own flow. So there's a lot of sales guys I'm a fan of that I've literally been offered a job to work on their team prior to doing this offer because they know I'm a fan, because they know I've worked with them before. I didn't pay them literally, but I've worked with them and they've heard good things about me and blah, blah, blah. So now you guys don't have any of those things going for you, obviously, that I did, but I started in the same spot as y'all. So anyways, my whole point being is that you will drastically do better. They will want you. You want to create this thing of they want you to. The only way you're going to do that is being invested in their product already. Not necessarily with money, at least with your time. You have to invest a little bit of time to look into them and see if you're even interested. Do it for yourself. Because if you really want a job, you want to be a part of somebody that you actually are interested in, you like the person, you would love to work with them. It'd be an honor. And they'll feel that. They'll feel that from you. And they're going to be yeah, Veronica's perfect. Yeah, Amir's perfect. Let's do it. Seems like a culture fit because everybody on their team is like super fans, especially on their sales team. Because sales team's the only thing where you need, it's an emotional job, right? Like to be a coder, like it doesn't really matter how they feel, they just get the job done, right? With sales, it matters how they feel. So that's why they're more likely to hire like a super fan who like is so on board. So that's like my biggest advice. Okay, I'm gonna give you an example of like an interview question. So you would say at the very end, like the interviewer would be like, "Hey, like how any other interview goes? Do you have any questions for me? You know, I've got all my questions out the way. Do you have any questions for me?" And then I'd be like, "Yeah, actually, I'm just curious. How do you guys get leads? Like, do you guys use like a Facebook funnel, like a Facebook group funnel, like a, you know, Instagram DM ads funnel? Like, what are you guys doing to get leads?" And then they're gonna be like, "That's a good question to ask. That's a solid question, especially as a setter. Solid question to ask because it's like, it shows that you have a little bit of business acumen. Like, there's nobody gonna ask that question besides you guys who are actually qualified for the job. I promise you, no one's asking that stuff. And I used to interview people, so like, take it from me. So you ask if you ask these questions, right? Like, what kind of group funnel? It shows you have a little bit of knowledge already. You know what you're doing, so you know what to expect. Like, what kind of funnel are you using? They'll be like, "Oh, we're using a webinar funnel." "Oh, sweet, awesome. How many leads?" I'm just curious. "Do you guys?" And you see how I'm pausing a lot and like making like thought of it because it's not like, but I know what I'm gonna say. How many leads could a typical setter expect per month, let's say? And then they'll be like, "Oh, you can expect 300 leads." That sounds good to me. Sounds great. 400 leads, great. Okay, cool. What's the average like setter making, if you don't mind me asking? The average setter here, they're making like anywhere from $4,000 to $8,000 a month. That's typical. You'll hear that, and that's good. Okay, great. What's the average closer making? Anywhere from 8 to 15. That's great. That's good. That's great. That's exactly what you want to hear. Okay, perfect. You don't even need to ask any more questions. See how I didn't come off as a condescending D-bag? It's fine. You know, I'm just like, it was 4 questions. It was quick. I wasn't qualifying them. Just like curious of what the job entails. Well, you see how it went from less invasive to more invasive as well? Like, how much does a typical setter make? How much does a typical closer make? Most people would ask that question first if they think to ask it at all. But notice I'm sliding into home. I went from first base to second base to third and went home. Cool. Do not have an ego as it relates to, I know all of you guys want freedom. You guys want to work your own hours and all that stuff. Don't freaking mention it on an interview. Don't let that stop you from applying, because they're going to put stuff like, "This is a 9 to 5. Because they want the type of people that aren't scared to work a 9 to 5. Because they want to know that you're going to be able to work hours. They'll even put in there sometimes that you're going to have to work 60 to 70 hours a week at times in the business when it requires it. And that is true. They're trying to find people. Understand, the only reason I'm telling you this is because I don't want you guys, because they're going to tell you, and that's because companies set really high expectations in part to scare the pussies away. Does that make sense? Like, they want to scare people away, because if you're not willing to like go to war with them, they don't want you on their team. This is a sales position. Sales people make the most money in the world. It's not because it's easy, it's because it's worth it. And if you're really good at sales, guess what happens? You can do less of this. The reality of a position is this in the beginning. That's why they do it so much. They want you to think this is the way it is forever. This is how they want you to see it, because they only want people that are willing to put in the work forever. But that's not the actual truth. Does that make sense? It's not the actual truth. They just are trying to scare away the wussies who are like, "I want to do nothing." They don't want lazy people in their sales organization, because you will have lazy results. Does that make sense? Like, who wants a person on their team that thinks that they deserve the entire world without working for it? Does this make sense? So what you lack in skill, you have to make up in your other resources like time, energy, right?